Marcus Blackwell stepped into the gleaming marble lobby of the elite Pinnacle Hotel, a towering symbol of opulence where crystal chandeliers dangled like frozen waterfalls, casting shimmering patterns across the polished floors that reflected the wealth and exclusivity of its patrons. His worn jeans and simple black t-shirt, a stark contrast to the tailored suits and elegant dresses of the other guests who milled about with an air of entitlement, their conversations a low hum of stock tips and vacation boasts. But as he approached the pristine reception desk, he felt the immediate shift in atmosphere, the way eyes lingered a fraction too long, judgments forming behind polite smiles. For Marcus, at 35 years old, was no stranger to such scrutiny. His dark skin and confident stride often misinterpreted in spaces like this, designed for a certain caliber of clientele that didn't include people who looked like him unless they were serving drinks or cleaning rooms. Yet today was different, deliberate, as he had orchestrated this visit with precision after acquiring the entire hotel chain through intermediary firms just 48 hours prior. His Blackwell Luxury Resorts empire, valued at $3 billion, built from humble beginnings in Atlanta where he started with a single boutique inn, now encompassing dozens of properties worldwide. But whispers of discriminatory practices at elite Pinnacle had reached him through anonymous tips and online forums, prompting this undercover assessment to gather first-hand evidence before sweeping reforms. So he maintained his composure, drawing on his Harvard education and the discipline from his early days, scraping by as a waiter while putting himself through school, approaching the desk where Elena Hargrove stood, a 50-year-old manager with sharp features and a reputation for upholding standards that were little more than veiled racism, her eyes narrowing as she sized him up, from his casual attire to his unassuming backpack, dismissing him before he even spoke. "Excuse me, sir. This is a private establishment," she said, her voice laced with feigned courtesy that dripped like honey over poison, ensuring her words carried across the lobby to the ears of the affluent guests. All white, all wealthy, who turned to watch the unfolding drama with a mix of curiosity and approval. As if this was entertainment, provided alongside the complimentary champagne, Marcus replied calmly, "Good evening. I have a reservation under Blackwell Enterprises," pulling out his phone to show the confirmation email. But Elena didn't bother glancing at her computer screen, her lips curling into a condescending smile. "I'm afraid there's been some confusion. We maintain a certain level of clientele here, and perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the budget options down the street," her emphasis on certain level hanging in the air like a noose, code for exclusion based on appearance and assumptions about wealth tied to race. The other staff members behind the desk exchanging uneasy glances but saying nothing, their silence a form of complicity honed over years under Elena's iron-fisted management, where speaking up meant risking bonuses or promotions. And as she signaled for security with a theatrical wave of her hand, two burly guards in crisp uniforms approached, their faces set in professional neutrality, though one hesitated slightly, sensing something off about the poised man before them. But orders were orders, and Elena made sure the spectacle was public, her voice rising intentionally. "We can't have just anyone wandering in off the street. It's for the safety and comfort of our guests," prompting murmurs of agreement from the onlookers, an elderly couple nodding vigorously, a young executive smirking as he recorded on his phone. The humiliation designed to be thorough and visible, Marcus feeling the familiar sting of racism masked as policy, a burn that had fueled his rise in the industry. From boardrooms where his ideas were dismissed to country clubs where his membership applications vanished, but he kept his expression neutral, documenting every detail mentally for the report that would follow as the guards flanked him, one placing a firm hand on his arm. "Sir, you'll need to leave now." Marcus nodded slowly. "I understand you're following protocol, but this is a mistake." His words polite, non-threatening, knowing any show of frustration could be twisted against him, and as they escorted him toward the grand revolving doors, Elena followed a few steps behind, continuing her commentary for the audience. This is why we have strict dress codes and verification processes. You never know who might try to scam their way into luxury, her words echoing off the marble walls, guests stepping aside as if his presence might taint their evening, a woman clutching her designer purse tighter, a man muttering about people not knowing their place, the parade of shame reaching its peak at the exit, where Elena announced loudly, "You're banned from this property. Return and we'll involve the authorities," her triumphant smirk visible even in the dimming light outside. But Marcus, now on the sidewalk under the cool night air, the hotel's golden facade glowing behind him, pulled out his phone without hesitation, dialing his assistant Liam with a steady voice. "Activate the acquisition announcement immediately. Full staff meeting in 20 minutes. And prepare termination papers for everyone on shift tonight." While waiting for confirmation, he reflected on his journey, born to a single mother who worked 3 jobs to support him, his determination leading to scholarships, internships, and eventually founding Blackwell Luxury Resorts with a mission to create inclusive spaces where dignity was the baseline, not a privilege, his net worth now rivaling the old money families who frequented places like Elite Pinnacle. And as texts buzzed in from Liam confirming the press release had been sent to major networks, Marcus straightened his jacket, turning back toward the entrance, knowing the tide was about to turn dramatically. Inside the lobby, the atmosphere shifted subtly at first. Phones vibrating with notifications, a tech-savvy guest staring at his screen in disbelief, whispering to his companion, "Blackwell Luxury Resorts just acquired this chain. The CEO is Marcus Blackwell. Worth billions, the news spreading like wildfire, Elena still basking in her victory, regaling a group of guests with tales of her keen instincts. You develop a sense for these things after years in the business. I could tell right away he didn't belong, but her assistant manager, a young Asian American named Alex, glanced at his email, face paling as he read the details of the buyout, trying to interrupt. "Elena, you need to see this," only to be waved off dismissively. "Not now, Alex. Can't you see I'm handling guest relations?" The irony lost on her as Marcus re-entered through the revolving doors, his posture commanding now, the casual clothes no longer a disguise but a statement. Heads turning as recognition dawned on those who'd seen the alerts. The same executive who'd smirked earlier dropping his phone in shock, Marcus striding directly to the reception desk, his voice clear and authoritative. "I believe we were interrupted earlier. Let's check that reservation again." Alex fumbling with the keyboard, confirming it instantly. "Yes, sir. The penthouse suite, under Blackwell Enterprises," with a note about a property inspection, Elena finally noticing the commotion, her eyes widening in horror as she saw him back. "What are you doing here?" "Security." But the guards, now checking their own devices, hesitated, one muttering, "Ma'am, he's the new owner." The words hanging heavy, the lobby falling silent except for the soft pings of more notifications, guests pulling out phones to verify, some Googling Marcus's name and gasping at his profile, self-made billionaire, philanthropist, disruptor of discriminatory practices in hospitality. And as Elena's face drained of color, cycling through denial and panic, Marcus pulled out his acquisition documents from his backpack, laying them on the counter with deliberate calm. "As of 48 hours ago, this hotel and its chain belong to me. I've witnessed firsthand the toxic culture here, the discrimination, the complicity, the failure to intervene," his gaze sweeping the room, taking in every staff member who'd stood by silently, from the bellhops to the concierges. Effective immediately, every employee on shift tonight is terminated for fostering and enabling a discriminatory environment. The announcement landing like a thunderclap, Elena staggering back. "You can't do that! We have contracts, unions," but Marcus shook his head. "Contracts that include clauses for ethical conduct, which you've all violated. My legal team is already en route. And security, now under my directive, We'll escort you out. Calls going out to replacement staff waiting nearby. A diverse team trained in inclusive service, ready to step in seamlessly. The fired employees reacting in waves of outrage, tears, and pleas. One waitress sobbing, "I have kids to feed. I didn't do anything," to which Marcus replied firmly but not unkindly, "That's the problem. You did nothing while injustice happened right in front of you." Elena attempting to rally them, "This is outrageous. We'll sue for wrongful termination." But the momentum was gone. Guests filming the reversal, hashtags like #HotelRevolution and #BlackCEOJustice trending in real time as videos uploaded, the young executive now deleting his earlier recording in embarrassment, realizing he'd captured his own complicity, and as the first wave of terminations processed, with personal belongings gathered under supervision, Marcus addressed the remaining guests. "I apologize for the disruption, but this is the start of a better elite pinnacle, one where everyone is welcome regardless of appearance, comping their stays and offering upgrades, turning potential backlash into support." The black couple who'd witnessed the initial ejection approaching him quietly, "Thank you. We've faced this before, but never seen it turned around like this," their words affirming his purpose. And as the last of the old staff was let out, Elena lingering defiantly until forced to leave, muttering threats that fell flat, Marcus stood in the transformed lobby, the air lighter, the new team taking positions with enthusiasm, knowing this was more than a job. It was a statement against systemic bias, the night that began with humiliation ending in empowerment, setting the stage for broader changes that would ripple through the industry, proving that one man's resolve could dismantle decades of exclusion in mere minutes. The 20-minute turnaround from victim to victor, a story that would inspire millions. But for Marcus, it was just the beginning of ensuring dignity for all in the world of luxury, hospitality, his vision extending far beyond this single property to every corner of his growing empire, where equality wasn't an afterthought but the foundation of success. And as the media vans pulled up outside, lights flashing, reporters clamoring for interviews, he prepared to share the message that discrimination had no place in modern business, turning a personal affront into a public triumph that would echo for years to come. The marble floors now witnessing not shame but justice, the chandeliers illuminating a new era where worth was measured by character, not color or clothes, Marcus Blackwell's name forever linked to this pivotal moment of reckoning and renewal. In the aftermath of the mass termination that shook the elite Pinnacle Hotel to its core, the once pristine lobby transformed into a whirlwind of chaos and transition, with Marcus Blackwell standing at the epicenter like a steadfast captain navigating a storm, directing his pre-arranged replacement team, a diverse group of professionals from various backgrounds, all rigorously trained in equitable service practices, to seamlessly take over operations, their fresh uniforms, a symbol of renewal as they manned the reception desk, organized the concierge services, and ensured guest comfort without missing a beat, while the ousted staff were methodically escorted out by the very security personnel who'd moments earlier enforced Elena Hargrove's biased commands, their personal belongings hastily packed into boxes and bags under watchful eyes to prevent any sabotage or theft. Elena herself fuming with rage, her face flushed crimson as she shouted across the emptying space, "This is an outrage, a complete injustice. I'll sue you for everything you're worth. You can't just fire us all on a whim." But Marcus met her gaze with unyielding calm, replying evenly, "Go ahead and try, Elena. Every second of tonight is captured on high-definition security footage, guest videos, and now viral social media clips, evidence that will speak louder than any defense you muster," his words cutting through the din as reporters began swarming the entrance, their news vans screeching to halts on the curb, cameras flashing like paparazzi at a scandal, capturing the disgraced employees spilling onto the sidewalk, some shielding their faces with jackets or purses, others venting to microphones thrust in their direction, a young receptionist tearfully claiming, "We were just following orders. It's not fair to punish everyone for one incident. Yet the emerging videos from bystander phones painted a damning picture, showing staff members not only failing to intervene but actively smirking or whispering approvals during Marcus's humiliation, their inaction now exposed as active enablement in a culture rotten from the top down. And as the media frenzy escalated, Marcus swiftly organized an impromptu press conference right there in the lobby, stepping onto a makeshift podium fashioned from a luggage cart, his voice projecting confidence as he addressed the flashing bulbs and rolling recorders. What happened here tonight isn't personal revenge. It's the eradication of a deeply entrenched system that has perpetuated discrimination under the guise of luxury standards. And Blackwell Luxury Resorts is committed to forging a new path of true inclusivity where every guest is valued equally, his statement resonating with authenticity born from his own experiences, sparking immediate division in public opinion as social media ignited like dry tinder. Hashtags such as #FireTheStaff and #JusticeAtElite surging to the top trends, with thousands of users, many from marginalized communities, sharing parallel stories of being denied service at upscale venues simply for their appearance or ethnicity. One viral thread recounting a family's ejection from a similar hotel during a wedding trip, garnering millions of views and supportive comments, yet counter-narratives emerged from skeptics and defenders of the status quo, accusing Marcus of overreach and reverse discrimination, labeling him as too extreme for dismantling an entire team in one fell swoop, online forums buzzing with debates that pitted empathy against entitlement. And amid this digital storm, Elena rallied the fired employees into a collective lawsuit, hiring a high-profile attorney known for defending controversial corporate cases, launching a GoFundMe campaign that quickly amassed funds from conservative donors who framed the firings as an attack on traditional business practices, the page filled with pleas portraying the staff as hardworking victims of a woke takeover. But Marcus remained undeterred. His legal team, a powerhouse of civil rights experts and labor law specialists, diving deep into the hotel's archived records, unearthing a trove of suppressed evidence including 25 documented complaints of discrimination over the past few years, from minority guests being quoted inflated rates to staff of color facing unequal promotions, all buried under non-disclosure agreements and HR cover-ups by the previous ownership. And as the case barreled toward court, the proceedings unfolded in a packed courtroom where tensions simmered like a pot about to boil over. Witnesses called one by one, former employees turning on each other under cross-examination, admitting to a pervasive selectivity culture where Elena's directives encouraged profiling based on race and attire, data analysts presenting charts showing disproportionately high rejection rates for non-white reservations. Elena taking the stand with a scripted poise, insisting, "We were merely safeguarding the premium experience our clients expect." It's about maintaining an atmosphere of excellence, only for the judge, a no-nonsense veteran of discrimination suits, to dismantle her argument point by point, retorting sharply, "Your so-called standards are nothing more than codified prejudice, and the law doesn't protect bigotry dressed as policy." The trial dragging on through weeks of testimonies, expert analyses, and emotional appeals. Marcus himself testifying with poise, recounting not just the night's events but his broader mission to reform an industry rife with exclusion, his words humanizing the abstract statistics and swaying the jury toward empathy, ultimately leading to a resounding victory for Blackwell Luxury Resorts, the court ruling the terminations justified under ethical breach clauses, ordering the plaintiffs to pay substantial legal fees and even symbolic reparations to affected past guests. Elena personally barred from managerial roles in hospitality for a decade, her reputation in tatters as the verdict made headlines, prompting a wave of self-audits across competing hotel chains, fearful of similar exposures, executives scrambling to review their own policies lest they be blackwelled into oblivion, and in the wake of this legal triumph, Marcus channeled the momentum into philanthropy, establishing the Equity and Hospitality Fund to support victims of service discrimination with legal aid, counseling, and job retraining programs. personally funding diversity workshops for the new elite Pinnacle staff, who now represented a mosaic of races, genders, and experiences. Their interactions with guests marked by genuine warmth rather than suspicion, leading to a surge in bookings from previously alienated demographics and a notable uptick in revenue as word spread of the hotel's rebirth as a beacon of fairness. Yet the victory wasn't without personal tolls, Marcus facing a barrage of online threats from anonymous trolls and disgruntled supporters of the old regime, his inbox flooded with hate mail alongside heartfelt letters of gratitude from communities long marginalized, one particularly moving missive from the black couple who'd witnessed his ejection, now volunteering as ambassadors for his initiatives. Traveling to share their story at conferences and webinars to amplify the call for change, inspiring grassroots movements in other cities, and as Elite Pinnacle reopened under its revamped banner, the lobby bustling with a more varied clientele, families from all walks, international travelers, and business professionals of every hue, Marcus took time to reflect on his origins from the impoverished neighborhoods where he honed his resilience against systemic barriers to this pinnacle of influence, realizing that true justice extended beyond courtroom wins to rebuilding trust brick by brick. But the battle raged on, with Marcus initiating covert audits at his other properties using hidden cameras and AI analytics to detect subtle biases in real time. Uncovering patterns that informed company-wide policies, this chapter delving into the intricate web of legal skirmishes, societal divides, and reconstructive efforts that highlighted the enduring power of evidence, perseverance, and collective advocacy in dismantling entrenched inequities, proving that while firings might spark immediate reform, it's the sustained pursuit of accountability that forges lasting transformation in an industry long overdue for reckoning. The ripples extending outward as other sectors watched and learned, wary of ignoring the lessons etched in the Elite Pinnacle saga. With the foundations of reform solidly laid at Elite Pinnacle Hotel, following the legal victories and operational overhauls that redefined its culture from the ground up, Marcus Blackwell turned his gaze outward, envisioning a ripple effect that would cascade beyond a single property or even the hospitality sector itself, establishing the Blackwell Equity Institute as a pioneering nonprofit dedicated to conducting dignity audits, rigorous, undercover evaluations designed to uncover hidden biases in service industries through a blend of anonymous surveys, AI-driven sentiment analysis of customer reviews, and simulated interactions with actors from diverse backgrounds posing as patrons. The Institute's first wave of audits targeting not just hotels, but restaurants, spas, and private clubs across major cities, revealing startling patterns such as waitstaff at upscale eateries, subtly steering minority diners toward cheaper menu items, or security at luxury boutiques, following shoppers based on ethnicity rather than behavior, data compiled into comprehensive reports that were publicly released to pressure establishments into voluntary compliance, with over 150 managers across 20 chains quietly resigning or being reassigned in the wake of these exposures to avoid scandals, Marcus himself becoming a sought-after keynote speaker at global summits on ethical business practices. His addresses weaving personal anecdotes with hard metrics, like how post-audit properties saw a 45% boost in repeat business from underrepresented groups and a 28% overall revenue spike due to broader appeal, emphasizing that inclusivity wasn't charity but smart economics in an increasingly diverse consumer landscape. And as his influence grew, he forged partnerships with civil rights organizations and tech firms to develop a revolutionary app called Equity Watch, a user-friendly platform where individuals could report incidents in real time via voice notes, photos, or geotagged videos. The app's backend using machine learning to categorize complaints and flag hotspots for targeted interventions, leading to high-profile cases such as a chain of fine dining restaurants exposed for systematically underserving tables with visible disabilities, resulting in a multi-million-dollar settlement funneled back into accessibility upgrades industry-wide. Marcus's vision extending even further as he lobbied for legislative changes, testifying before congressional committees on the need for federal mandates requiring annual bias training for all customer-facing roles, his eloquent arguments drawing on historical parallels to civil rights movements while projecting future scenarios where unchecked discrimination could erode societal trust and economic growth, bills inspired by his advocacy gaining bipartisan support and passing in several states, mandating transparency in complaint handling and penalties for repeat offenders. Meanwhile, on a personal level, Marcus grappled with the evolving demands of his role, balancing boardroom strategies with family life, his wife and children accompanying him on select trips to audited sites, turning them into educational experiences where his kids learned about empathy and justice firsthand. One memorable visit to a reformed spa where former discriminators now led workshops on cultural sensitivity, his daughter asking poignant questions that reminded him why the fight mattered beyond statistics, and as years unfolded, Elena Hargrove's trajectory served as a stark counterpoint, her attempts at reinvention floundering. A self-published memoir defending her actions as misunderstood professionalism met with scathing reviews and boycotts, leading to her retreat into obscurity, working menial jobs far from the glamour she once wielded, her story occasionally resurfacing in cautionary HR training videos produced by the Institute, while redeemed figures like the assistant manager Alex rose through the ranks at Blackwell Properties, becoming a regional director who mentored young leaders on proactive allyship. Sharing his regrets from that fateful night as teachable moments, the Institute's impact amplifying through academia as universities incorporated the elite pinnacle case into curricula for business ethics and sociology courses, with Marcus guest lecturing at his alma mater Harvard, challenging students to innovate solutions like blockchain-verified complaint ledgers to prevent tampering, inspiring a new generation of entrepreneurs focused on social enterprise, and broadening the scope. Marcus pivoted to adjacent fields such as aviation and real estate, partnering with airlines to audit boarding procedures for racial profiling and with property developers to ensure fair housing practices in luxury condos, one landmark initiative being the Equity Everywhere campaign, a nationwide challenge inviting citizens to nominate suspect businesses for free audits, crowdsourcing data that led to over 2,000 investigations in the first year alone, with success stories flooding in a Black-owned startup finally securing fair loan terms after exposing bank biases, or a transgender artist gaining gallery representation following revelations of exclusionary curatorial practices. The campaign's viral nature boosted by celebrity endorsements and social media challenges where influencers conducted mini audits on camera, amassing billions of views and shifting public discourse from tolerance to active equity. Yet Marcus remained grounded through ongoing therapy sessions, processing the cumulative trauma of his experiences, not as burdens but as fuel for innovation. His therapist noting how he'd alchemized pain into purpose, a theme echoed in his best-selling book, From Exclusion to Empowerment, which chronicled the journey with raw honesty, donating proceeds to scholarships for underrepresented youth in business programs. And as the Institute celebrated its 5th anniversary with a gala at the now iconic Elite Pinnacle, its lobby adorned with interactive exhibits tracing the transformation, including a digital wall displaying anonymized stories from reformed victims, turned advocates. The event drew luminaries from tech giants to policymakers. Marcus's closing speech envisioning a world where dignity audits become as routine as financial ones, integrated into corporate governance worldwide. His words igniting applause that symbolized collective commitment, but the true measure of legacy emerged in quieter moments, like when the Black couple from the original incident returned for their anniversary, their grown children in tow, marveling at a space that once symbolized rejection now embodying welcome, or when former staff members, having undergone personal growth, volunteered for the Institute's outreach programs, teaching conflict resolution in community centers, proving redemption's possibility through sustained effort. Marcus's ultimate triumph lying not in accolades but in the systemic shifts laws enacted, minds changed, opportunities equalized that ensured future generations would navigate luxury spaces without the shadows of prejudice, his story evolving from a singular confrontation to a blueprint for global justice, where technology, policy, and human will converge to dismantle barriers invisibly woven into everyday life, the elite pinnacle, standing as a living monument to what happens when one person's stand sparks a movement that redefines possibility for all, extending infinitely into horizons where equity isn't an aspiration but an unbreakable norm. The chapter closing on this expansive vista of ongoing evolution, free from the immediacy of crises or battles, focused instead on the enduring architecture of change that builds societies resilient against division.